The night those red and blue lights washed over my pines, I was on the phone with the state attorney, not exactly the ambiance you want when you're talking bank ledgers and missing playground money. But there it was, siren echo, gravel crunch, and Veronica Hale marching up my drive like she owned the ridge. Her son Chase had that hands-in-hoodie swagger and a stare glued to my power bike like he'd already bought it with Monopoly money. I remember thinking, keep your voice level, finish the call, don't feed the fire. Then the fire fed itself. I live on the edge of Maple Ridge HOA, which is to say I'm not in it. My place sits just over the line on 3 acres and a little creek, but my driveway meets their main road. And in neighborhoods like this, proximity feels like permission to the wrong kind of people. I came out here from the city to get quiet, not to win Neighborhood of the Month. The only trophy I had any interest in was the one you can't hold sleeping through the night without sirens or loud upstairs neighbors. I'd been rebuilding that power bike for the better part of 2 years, one paycheck at a time, one chrome order after another, something to ride on Saturdays when the air felt like clean paper. Officer Veronica called loud enough to make it theater. That man's hiding something in there. He threatened my son, and he refused to let him borrow the bike. Who does that to a child? I said I'd call the attorney back, tucked my phone away, and stepped outside. The deputy's hand rested on his belt, the way country cops do when they're sorting lies from louder lies. "Ma'am," he started, but Chase broke from her shadow, grabbed my handlebars, and twisted like he knew what he was doing. He didn't. The engine jumped, the rear tire spit gravel, and before I could say gently, the kid launched into his mom's rose beds like a parade float, forgot which street it was on. Crunch pedals, the whole melodrama. Veronica clutched her chest like daytime TV and hissed, "Look what you made him do." "Look what he made himself do," the deputy muttered, which might be the truest sentence ever said on my lawn. 2 days before that scene, I'd gotten an email from the county. The park fund money for swings benches, shade trees was evaporating into consulting fees and upgrades nobody could see. I had documents because people trust quiet men who fix their own fences. I didn't ask for any of this, but sometimes trouble picks you like a spare key under the mat, and you either ignore it or you move it to a safer place. I chose the safer place, copies, labels, redundancies, and I told the state attorney where to find the rest. Veronica felt it. How sunlight creeps under doors, and she started her whisper campaign, "He's not one of us flyers." The stiff smiles, the phone calls after dark. Chase kept circling like a gull over fries, offering money he didn't earn for a bike that wasn't his. "Everything's for sale," he told me. "Not this," I said, and that should have been where the story ended. But you know how pride turns simple into complicated in 6 heartbeats. That night, they cut my power. You learn the difference between a storm outage and a human decision, neighbors glowing warm behind their curtains while your kitchen goes to black. I stepped onto the porch, and the shed door whispered against its hinges. 2 silhouettes, one with that same half-grown jawline. "Stop," I said, no heat, just a full stop like a period. Chase flinched. The other one yanked at the bike, my alarm chirped like a canary in a mine, and the whole thing slid toward the road, while my heart tried to measure whether I should grab, shout, or pray. I chose walk fast and talk low, the only option that's ever worked on panicked teenagers and spooked horses. "Kid," I told him, "you don't borrow by cutting power." And Chase whispered, "You don't get it," a sentence I've said in a mirror too many times to judge him for saying out loud. They reached the curb, and a dark sedan rolled up without headlights, that kind of slow that pretends to be casual. Before I could do anything that would make the wrong deputy put his hand on the wrong part of his belt, county cruisers turned our corner siren once and the night spun. The older kid bolted into the trees, Chase froze, and as my knee touched asphalt, because gravel and orders and staying alive demand you move slow. The sedan gunned forward, clipped the bike, then fishtailed into darkness like it had a schedule somewhere else. That's when the suits arrived, Public Integrity Unit badges uncomplicated by HOA politics. Special Investigator Reed, quiet, clean collar. Ms. Park, who wrote like every sentence counted. Mr. Salazar, eyes that find the thing you hide on purpose. We stepped inside and I laid it all out on the table, checks, minutes, invoices that smelled like cologne and lies, and Ms. Park said something that stuck to my ribs. Empathy isn't weakness, it's clarity. I don't know if she carries that line around or if it came out of her like a reflex, but it tuned the room. They took one box, told me to keep one with a friend, and warned me that fear calls first and calls loud. 10 minutes later, Veronica had a community safety poster up at the clubhouse, with my silhouette filling the blank space where facts should have been. You could feel the neighborhood lean in, some folks hungry for a mess that wasn't theirs, some tired because mess is mess even when you're just trying to get the kids to bed. I went to that meeting because lies grow faster than grass, and if you don't mow them in public, they turn into hedges you can't see over. Veronica wore a red blazer like a warning sign. "We are under attack," she said, like she was auditioning for a storm. People shifted, side-eyed me, then pretended they didn't. I raised a hand. "Last night a car tried to collect us like bowling pins," I said, "and the money we've been paying for swings is chasing its tail through shell companies." That's when Reed's team walked in with folders and subpoenas, and the air changed from humid to electric. Veronica laughed, that brittle laugh folks use when the floor moves under them. Ms. Park lifted a page and said, "These came from the banks," which is a sentence that doesn't need adjectives. Salazar talked timelines. Reed talked signatures, and the room started breathing again. Then Chase stood up, voice too big for his age, and exactly big enough for the moment. "Mom, tell them," he said, hands shaking, "tell them you just wanted to scare him." You could hear candy wrappers in the back row like thunder. From there, the story widened the way a creek becomes a river after a rain. The sedan turned up, burned at a quarry, someone whispered. The brothers and the sheriff said the quiet part out loud. Organized money doesn't like small towns, because people look each other in the eye here. Chase showed up at my place later, eyes raw, words tumbling. There were men from out of town. There were promises his mom was over her head. There was a name for the guy who'd run from my shed, Tyler Mason. 20 never learned the difference between attention and respect. The next night brought gunfire. And I don't say that to make it dramatic, I say it because the sound stamps you. Floodlights went out like someone pinched the moon. Marshals shouted, deputies hit the dirt. And I did what my body wanted to do before my brain caught up. I pushed Chase behind the porch rail. One of the brothers charged the yard. Didn't make it far. The other decided surrender, it looks better than bleeding. And by morning, the neighborhood smelled like wet grass and spent powder. Veronica sat on her steps with her face set like a jaw that's done clenching. And for the first time since I'd moved in, she looked small in a way I recognized, fear that finally learned its own name. What saved us wasn't the drama, it was the paperwork. Reed's team had a map money to shells to contractors, to a construction office with her husband's name on the glass, then on a warrant, then on a chain-link bracelet. The local news turned our quiet street into a backdrop. Helicopters brought the city to our ridge, and Maple Ridge finally understood this wasn't about lawn height or trash day. This was about the sort of greed that dresses itself up as community improvement and walks right past you at the grocery store. In court, Veronica told the truth, the way a person tells the truth when choosing not to would cost somebody blood. She didn't paint herself a saint. She didn't beg, she did that thing a human does when they've run out of angles. She walked straight. The judge watched. The defense tried to make smoke where there wasn't fire, and Chase Hood Up told the room about late-night phone calls and the word scare being tossed around, like it didn't weigh what it weighs. By lunch,